Good morning, and welcome to Real Human Design Stories, where we share real-life stories of how human design has helped our guests know themselves on a deep, transformative level. Whether you're joining us live here during Sunday Story Hour in my Facebook group or catching this on your favorite podcast platforms on Mondays, you'll be able to find all the details you need in the show notes or the Facebook comments. Human design helps us to differentiate between what is ours and what is conditioning. By knowing and trusting ourselves, we develop deeper, more honest relationships and unlock our true gifts. I'm Kathy Bashanko, and my guest this week is Tammy Mack, a 6'2" Splenic Projector left angle cross of the Alpha. Hi, Tammy. It's great to see you. I'm so excited to hear your story about how human design turns you into this creatrix of the matrix, I think is what you sometimes refer to yourself for. Correct me if I got that wrong. I would just love to hear you go right into the whole story.
Well, I mean, I was this magnificent woman that I that I am before human design. Human design, do you want to hear the story as to how human design found me?
Yes.
Okay. So I have been on a spiritual journey for many, many years. We always have waves of spiritual awakening. And I remember back in 2000, we'll start from 2000. It was my first burnout, actually. And of course, I didn't know what burnout meant. I was like 20 years old. Who burns out when they're 20 years old? Well, I do. And so I was working two jobs. I was waitressing, two different places. And it was around July that I got really, really sick. And one day I just quit my job, just absolutely quit my job, packed everything up and moved to the mountains. And so this was around 2001. This was 2 weeks before 9/11, actually. And so I moved to the mountains, and was during 9/11 that I had a 6-month contract, so I got to keep my job. And I really connected to nature. So I didn't know anything about spirituality whatsoever. And I read the Celestine prophecy. And that connected me to coincidences and synchronicities and the way that the universe speaks to us and the way that our soul speaks to us. And so when I was in the mountains, I was able to see auras. I was really, really connected to timing, even though, once again, I had no idea what that meant. Fast forward to about 2012. I had my next kind of wave of awakening. And this time it was awakening me to energy. And I started moving into Cindy Dale and moving through meridians and chakras and all that kind of stuff. Really connecting to Reiki. I remember being in, where was I? Cuba in 2014 and dancing under the moon with a bunch of witchy women on a yoga retreat. And once again, clueless. I'm aligned to, I'm clueless at a lot of times, but everything just works out so magically. Mm-hmm. And so I just kept getting waves and waves and waves of awakenings, I guess. And 2015, I moved into meditation, and I was really into Taoism. And so I learned more about the I Ching at that time and meridian lines and seasons. But then in 2018, I had another burnout, and I had a really bad burnout. 2015, I had one, took me out of work. I was off work for a year. I had shoulder surgery. 2018, I burnt out again. And this time I was like, okay, something needs to change. And that's when I started coming into, the shamanic way and really being connected to shamanism. And so 2019, I did the Star Keepers Rite. And it was during the Star Keepers Rite. I don't know what that is. So it's just one of the rites of the Moon Eye Key. So we connect to the wisdom keepers and different rites through the Moon Eye Key. And so it was during the Star Keepers rite that I was connecting to our star brothers and sisters. I was connecting to the Palladians and the Arcturians and all of those, that types of things. And once again, I had no idea what it all meant, but I just trusted, in the alignment. And then human design found me 2019. And once again, opened me up to the world of human design and astrology. But what was beautiful about it was I had all the tools. Like I knew what chakras were. I knew what the I Ching was. I knew it was like a coming home to me when I found human design. It was really a coming home because I learned each of the modalities in its own way, in its own time. And so human design just was so natural. It was just so natural because I felt like I've already embodied so much of what human design was before I even knew what it was.
So how did you just happen to come across it, or how did human design show up for you?
I think it was on the internet. I was just scrolling. Oh, and it was something about I can't remember her name, but she had a life purpose lab or something like that. She was a human design coach, and I didn't like her language. I didn't really vibe with her language. And then I heard Karen Curry Parker's language, and I was like, oh, that resonates with my soul. And so it really was connecting to what is my soul purpose and how can I serve from it. And it was the life purpose lab. That's what it was called, the life purpose lab. And that's when I started into wanting to serve from my soul purpose through human design.
And what do you? So many questions. So I'm going to try to focus on the one in this moment, but then I'm going to want to go back a little bit. So what did you feel human design helped you to see as your life purpose?
It gave me the permission to be me and to dream and to be okay with the fact that I am a big dreamer. I am a person that wears wigs on a Sunday morning. I am eccentric. I am a little odd, a little different. And all the little things that I used to judge myself so harshly, all of a sudden, that was me. And that was okay because that's me. And the way that I do it is beautiful if I can get out of judging it so much.
Yeah.
And so I think human design for me really allowed me to love myself with even more compassion because I didn't judge it anymore.
Yeah. And, I want to go back to the way I introduced you and how I said something about human design turning you into, and I really realized, that and I appreciate your response to that and correcting me because words matter. And I guess, for me, human design has been so transformative that I know what you're saying. It's not that it changed me into something I wasn't. It doesn't do that for any of us. It helps us be okay and embrace and really celebrate who we really are and stop being someone we weren't, right? So
I love cicada medicine, the cicadas. It's very, very different from the transformational medicine of a butterfly because, even though I'm a 6 line and the butterfly has stages and it emerges, right? It emerges as something different. I love the cicadas because the cicada medicine is, I've always been. I had to go through the darkness. I had to live in the darkness for, sometimes the cicadas live for 17 years in the darkness before they come up to the light and sing their soul song to sing to their people. And so I love the energy of the cicadas because they have always been.
Did you just have one of those cicada cycles that we just had? We just missed it. We got a few by us, but just a little bit south of us, there was a huge 17-year one. And I know up in the area where I'm from in Illinois, they were supposed to have an overlap, and I didn't really ever hear about it. I was just curious.
No, I'm in the prairies. So
Forefront
I
tree?
live in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada. Like
Yeah,
very
so
so
not a lot
no,
of old
no
trees.
cicadas here. But when I do visit my parents in Eastern Canada in Windsor, they have cicadas. And it reminds me of Costa Rica. It reminds me like just so beautiful, the sound. I like, obviously there's devastation that comes with cicadas, but listening to them singing in the evening is my soul, my heart just opens up so wide.
But that I don't rabbit hole warning here. My brain just went like this, I open ajna. So the whole idea of, there is devastation that comes with the cicadas, right? But then that creates a different form of renewal. Just like when we have these huge, devastating wildfires in nature, those are just as devastating to the inhabitants as they are to like people now and stuff. But that is how the forests regenerate. That's how life goes on, and finding our ways to live with our own devastations, right? And to find the embrace the newness and regeneration that can come from that. So you found human design while you were in a burnout, or after you were emerging again? I'm trying to place it.
Yeah, no, it was during a burnout. It was definitely during a burnout. I remember it was around 2018-19. So that year, I was really into Joe Dispenza and meditation and just opening up more. And so when you open up, right, when you open up, just you're able to see things a little bit differently. So yeah, it was just a matter of events that brought me into human design. And then it just felt like home. It was just like, I already know this. Like it just felt so easy.
Yeah, I think it was Karen. Yeah, Karen Curry Parker was saying when I talked to her that when she was learning the energy of the different gates, she was like, she felt like she already knew it, like, right? But I believe that it was said that when Ra received the transmission, the download of human design, everyone received it. It's just he received it consciously because of the gift that he was given from the voice. So we all have it inside of us to recognize this when the time is right for us to do so.
And there's, sorry,
but no, but
I was just going to say, like, I study from so many different masters and so many different teachers. And, when we really look at the community, the spiritual community, there's so many different teachers and masters that are teaching very similar things, like Carolyn Miss, if you've read her Soul Contract, very similar to using archetypes and using astrology and symbols and whatnot. And to me, like, I feel the resonance of her teaching that's very, very similar to human design.
Yeah. So I totally agree with that. When you found human design and started to learn about it, what were the stumbling points, but what were the biggest, like, thrusts forward, that whole like 2 steps forward, 1 step back feeling that I think happens whenever we have growth, right? So
yes, the big stumbling thing, and this is why it's my, your mess is your message. And the biggest stumbling thing was I got in my head about it. And I spent 2 years, 3 years in my head about it instead of moving through it, instead of allowing, instead of trusting, instead of just embodying it. I got stuck in my head, like a lot of people do. They need to know what this gate means, what this line means, what this color means, what does it mean, what does it mean, what does it mean, instead of just allowing it to teach you.
yeah.
And so I think the biggest stumbling block with human design was moving it through the mental process. But that's a process, and is to move it through the mind. And then, and that's why many people say that it takes 7 years. I mean, that's also shamanic as well, because we have a new body every 7 years. But it really is the way that we take it in, whether we take it in mentally, whether we're playful with it, and how it evolves through you in time.
Yeah. Ra taught that, deconditioning, and I know you know this, I'm saying this more for those listening, that deconditioning was a 7-year process because of the whole idea of the body kind of replaces itself every 7 years. And there are parts of ourselves that do that, but there are some parts that stay the same. And I think that, since now that I've passed the first 7 years, I'm really noticing how much there still is, and it's like it's just like you go back. It's like that 7-year cycles are prominent in a lot of different cultural things. We talk about the 7-year itch, right? In relationships, but because we go all the way around, and then we start to face the same. And I don't know what the 7-year, because astrologically, I don't know that there's a 7-year cycle in something, but I might just not be aware of that. But the going around and then having a whole new experience when you go around the next time, because it's kind of like do you ever go into one of those stores where they have so much stuff and it's really cool, but it's like there's every inch of it has things on the wall, and you walk back through and then you have to walk back around to see it now from a new perspective. And you've already seen these other things. So now you're looking somewhere different. And I feel like that's how the whole deconditioning process is. It's not like all of a sudden we just get rid of it all. We come back around and then we have a whole new experience of, oh, okay, now what else is there? And so I love what you said about the getting in your head, because that's what made me decide I was going to be an intuitive human design mentor rather than like a human design analyst or advisor, because I really see my mission as to help people to use their head, sure, like use their knowledge, contemplate, but ground it in their body. So to me, I feel like that comes in our earth gates a lot. Grounding. And so yours
grounding. Absolutely. And when I look at my own business, I have been writing human design content since 2020. And that's the way that I learn, right? I learn through the embodiment, through writing, through experiencing. And so when my blog started, or my writing started in 2020, every single year I go through that cycle and I go through that energy and I add, I tweak, I refine, I evolve it through the wisdom instead of the knowledge, because knowledge is learned, but wisdom is earned.
Well, that makes me feel better to know you've been making content for so long. No wonder you have so much content, because I'm always like, how does she put so much content out? But
I get that a lot.
A lot. I'm like, she's got another job too. And I feel like, wow, because you put out a lot of content, really beautiful stuff. But so back up a little bit. So you started, you found human design around 2018, 2019, and then you started professional training with Karen Curry Parker when?
2019.
Oh, so you started training professionally right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, I'm splenic, I know, right? So it just felt like a hell yes. It just felt like, oh, this feels good. And it's funny because 2015, I love hindsight. There's so much wisdom in hindsight. But in 2015, I wanted to be a belief coach. And once again, no idea what that meant, but I wanted to help people change their beliefs, their thoughts and beliefs, which is so interesting because that is literally what my human design, my incarnation cross is all about. And so it's all these nuggets that I was given, but wasn't ready yet to completely grasp. But it's been in my auric space. It's been in my soul residence for a long, long time. And that's why I love divine timing so much, is because you can't rush that. You can't rush the beauty. You can't rush the fullness. You can't rush it. And so, 2019, when I did meet human design, it was just like, all right, let's do this. I didn't know it was going to be I didn't know what it was going to look like. That's not my job. I just okay, that sounds like fun. Let's do that. And then it just kept, I just write, I just move within my passion. And the more passionate I am about something, the more people come.
Yeah. Yeah. So you started the professional training, And then when did you actually, you just started posting, and did it evolve naturally, or was there a clear delineation point where you said, okay, now I'm open for business?
No. There's no clear path. My job is just to hold the dream. 2015, once again, I bring back that time a lot because in that time I was getting a lot of visions. And I remember, I was bathing somebody. So I was showering somebody because I work in long-term care. So I worked in long-term care for 15 years, and I was bathing somebody, and I got this vision of me speaking in a sold out arena. And I was a motivational speaker, and and it was just a flash. And then I saw myself, holding a retreat next to the ocean, and people coming into my suite and having, I call it sessions because I didn't know what it was back then, but it was just that dream. So I don't know what my next step is. I never do. I just allow the synchronicities and the coincidences to show me the path, because whenever I try to figure it out and whenever I try to set a strong goal, it doesn't work that way. Like, for me anyway, it doesn't really work that way. But when I just sit back and just watch the patterns and watch and just open up, just opportunities, invitations just show up for me. So even with the coaching space, like I can't even remember. I went to a boudoir shoot. And I work with a lot of photographers, and it was during a boudoir shoot that after the shoot, I spent 2 hours with her, and we're just chatting. And she's like, "Oh wow, like this is magic. Like, you should be doing this." And so I just started, posting every once in a while, but I don't do a lot of readings. And it's what I don't do a lot of readings. And in fact, the readings that I do work with, they're human design professionals that want my unique view on it. And so I don't do a lot of readings, to be quite honest. I don't do a lot of that. It's just whatever shows up.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I have purposely structured my business so that it makes more sense to do a month of mentorship than it does to do a 1 hour reading, because you then have the time to really come back and say, okay, I noticed how I experienced this week. Now let's talk about it, which I feel is a really healthy thing to do as part of the whole understanding. Because if I just tell you something, right, or you just tell someone something, then they're going to get in their head and oftentimes be like, am I doing this right? Am I doing it wrong? And it's just, it's, yeah. So I relate. It's funny, as you're talking, there's so much that I sit here and think, okay, I've had those same visions. I've had those, like the retreat by the water, and to me, it's not so much a sold out arena as it is a large room, right? And I'm wondering, do you think that's something we share in our chart, or do you think that's just a common kind of feeling for doing this sort of work?
I mean, we could analyze the chart and find it somewhere, right? There's always a pattern somewhere.
But
But
we have the 2644, which is all about recognizing patterns and making.
yes, but to me, it's like, let's talk about the 44. The 44 is about fractals. It's about knowing who is in alignment with I just talk about dreams a lot, your vision, but who's in alignment, who's in resonance with your soul. And whoever's in resonance with your soul is going to, be around you, be in that space. We're going to talk about the same things. And so, we could find it in the human design, I'm sure. But to me, it's more of a soul resonance. Mm-hmm. It's more of, our thoughts and our beliefs create our reality. And it's more of the energy that creates that who we are. So to me, it's more of the energy that connects us more than what the analytical thing says in the human design. So when I do human design, it's almost like I don't analyze a chart. It's what is the underlying current? what is it that, the message that your soul, came to tell me, an hour before a call? What was the dream that woke me up in the middle of the night that I knew that was for somebody else? One of the biggest things that I've had to learn is to let go of the vision being for me. And because it's a lot of times I hold, like, Karen calls me the steward of dreams, right? Like, the midwife, and so I know that I hold a lot of energy and a lot of dreams, and I try to force myself to bring them into manifestation. But a lot of the times, it's just I might be the tweak that somebody else needs for their dream to come true.
Yeah, and the thing that's coming to my mind right now is the idea that, what I just did was try to say, well, where's this in our chart? And we do oftentimes try to make things be like about a particular gate. And there is, because of the archetypal energy in all the gates, we often can find stuff in the gate. But I think sometimes my tendency to do that is actually a turnoff for people, because it makes them think they have to learn so much about all the gates, right? And all these things. And what I'm starting to embrace more and more is this idea that I can see when there's a shadow or something that's coming out in me. I can sometimes say, okay, where would this be in my chart? I find that helpful when I can find the negatives in the chart, because it helps to give me a tool to find the positive expression of that. So that's really, that's been really helpful. But, just really using the chart more as a window to trust ourselves, right? And then once we trust ourselves, to just really feel it in the body. And you were saying that that was part of your, I don't remember when you used that you were saying part of your mission is to get out of the head and bring it into the body. And so I'm wondering how you've done that with yourself or with other people. Shamanics. Is it the shamanic stuff, would you say, that you were doing then? And I don't mean that sounded kind of flippant to say shamanic stuff, but
No, that's totally fine. It's so fascinating. It really is, because sometimes I use the beautiful thing about human design is it gives us language to what we already know. And so sometimes when I'm in a deep mentorship, or when I'm holding a container or holding space for somebody, and somebody asks me why this is this or why this is that, we use the chart as language, as a tool. It's a common meeting ground, right? So that they can understand it in a different way. And so I love the archetypal energy. And what's fascinating with human design is that ascended masters started coming through different gates and different parts of the chart. And so I got to experience it and teach it and share it in different languages that other people can resonate. And so that's how the language of the profile lines came to me, because it was, once again, a playful way. Like, for instance, heretic doesn't feel so good. Visionary leader is beautiful, but queen, king, that has a feel to it. That has a story, that has a resonance. You and I were the 6/2, and so for me, the sixth line is the goddess. And how can I embody? How can I imagine? How can I play dress up as a goddess? Line 2 is the creative muse. And I love the energy of the creative muses, because I just get to be me, and people adore me. There's this romance of just being myself. Just being myself is a muse to someone else, and muses someone else. And it's in response. And so I don't have to do anything. I just have to be me. And so to me, it's like, the more that you can open up and allow and get out of the structure and the rigidity of what everything has to mean, and create new meaning to it that resonates with you. And so I play with, and it's so funny, because I'm more butch than bitch. and I was trying to be feminine, and my soul laughs at me because it's like, it's just the embodiment of who you are. When you stop trying, you are feminine. Right. And so when I allow, when I dream, when I trust, the masters come and they teach me and they show me where, the possibility is in the gate, right? That I get to experience it in a different way and share it with a different way.
Yeah. So I feel like I have to pause and process what you're saying sometimes, because there was a lot in that. And so the whole, like, so I'm still back with the lines. And you mentioned some of them. And so for those people who might have felt left out, because you mentioned the 2, the 5, and the 6, of how you reframe the names to something that resonates for you. And I'm wondering if you would feel okay with just kind of saying the 1, the 3, and the 4 for those who might feel a little forgotten in that. Because I know you're
absolutely. It would be my pleasure. I use them for, marketing and branding. So I'm going to share it in that way. Since we are in Gemini season, the line 1 I call the creatrix, right? The creatrix, because she creates from a foundation. She creates from a know, like, and trust. And there's this sense of that she needs to know, like, and trust herself in order for her to share. And so the creatrix builds from herself and building this foundation, it moves through her. The line 2 is the creative muse. And in marketing, we talk about romance, we talk about intimacy, we talk about play and being provocative in ways. And so it's romancing each other. The line 3 I call the wild woman, because she throws spaghetti on the wall just as much as she pulls her hair out. She judges herself and feels a sense of shame because she feels like she's making mistakes. And yet every mistake that she's made is absolutely beautiful and is what makes her who she is. And so she gets to forge new paths by making these mistakes and being the wild woman that she is. The line 4 is the hardest, and the hardest is someone that opens their heart with compassion to others. And so the shadow sometimes is that of being rejected, because they have felt rejection in the past and they're scared to open out their heart to share their beautiful gifts because of rejection. But when they do, it's like an art gallery, and they get to open their heart and other people come to see the magic that they are. The line 5 is the queen, and the queen has a projection. We never really know who the queen is. No one really knows who Oprah is. Really, nobody really knows who the queen is. We just know the projection. And sometimes they live behind the projection because it's easier and safer than being who they truly are. But when they are who they truly are, when they're empowered by who they truly are, they shine in a way that brings, it's like the bees, right? That brings everybody to them, and they can share from their mastery. They can share from who they are. And then the line 6 is the goddess. And the goddess is like, the mighty eagle, up in the sky, up in the clouds, watching everything, seeing the potential and the possibilities of what could happen. But humaning is hard. And sometimes we don't want to come back into the messiness of what being a human is, peopling. And so it really is this vantage point that the goddess has. But when she comes and swoops down with this beautiful perception and insight and sharing with whoever it is that she's sharing, it can really, change the viewpoint of another person.
Yeah. Wow. So those are really beautiful and empowering. Curious, is Oprah line 5?
I have no idea, but she's a queen. She's a queen in her own right.
Yeah, she definitely, and she probably at least has a bunch of line 5s probably in her. But I see there are certainly some people who would see her as the heretic thing. My sister actually, as a 5-2, loves the heretic. She's always been the black sheep of the family, and she just wears it like, a crown. So she don't take heretic away from her. But she would be happy to have the crown of the queen as well. But I guess I shouldn't speak for her. She doesn't like when I speak for her. But yeah, so how long ago did you write those lines? I vaguely remember seeing them come up, but I don't know if that was about a year or so ago is when I first saw them, but you might have written them before that.
Yeah, 2021, I believe. I'm thinking back to when me and Marla, and it's funny
Marla
because
Mack.
yeah, Marla Mack, we're the co-owners of the Human Design Portal. I think we did a live on the profiles, and I did have the masculine ones as well because, why not? But I think it was around 2021 that I came into the feminine embodiment line of the profile lines. And it was around that time too that I got the download of the Sophia, like the feminine ascended masters through the G center, through the heart, which brought even, more of that powerful feminine energy.
Explain what you mean by that.
So, nope, 2020. I was working with a coach. She was a visionary coach, and she introduced me to the book called The Sophia Code. And it's a channeled book connecting different feminine ascended masters together as a tribe. And so the ascended masters, okay, so I won't say that right away. So it connects all these beautiful, powerful ascended masters as the Sophia tribe. And the first time I read that book, I was in meditation, and it showed me how each of the ascended masters landed into the G center through each of the gates. So I'm just going to go through this quite quickly. So if we start with gate 1, is that of purpose, and white buffalo woman of thunder and lightning shows up through there. And then line 13 is that of Hathor, and changing our narrative and changing our story on a quantum realm. Gate 25 is that of green Tara, and it's the love of nature, the love of spirit, right? And connecting to spirit, or connecting to nature as a spiritual practice, and through innocence and beauty. Gate 46 is that of Mary Magdalene, the priestess, the embodiment of that spirit. So connecting to her in that way is so powerful. Line 2 is that of Mary Mother, or Mother Mary, and that is of receiving, of believing, conceiving, receiving, and the magic that happens when you allow, when you trust, right? And we all know the story of Mother Mary. Line 15 is that of Kuan Yin, of extremes, of compassion. And if you know the story of Kuan Yin, it's such a beautiful story, but she had to go through her own story of transformation, of absolute self-hatred, to know what compassion is. I'm very aligned to Kuan Yin. And then gate 10 is that of Isis, of self-love, of commitment, of perseverance. That's that Capricorn energy. And she was a queen. I swear she was a manifester, because she didn't inform before she did the things that she did. And so she went through her own way. And then line 7 is that of the Seraphim, or the Sophia dragons. And it's the support that we all receive. So it's through all these different lines that they all came together. And this is where the wisdom of, this is how I teach now, the G Center, is through feminine embodiment, and through aligning with these powerful masters, so that we can, learn about ourselves, or connect with ourselves, or ask for support in different ways. So it's the wisdom of Sophia.
That's really beautiful. I've seen you talk about wisdom of Sophia, but I don't think I realized you were associating it with the identity center in that way. So, and I know, so you said, what did you say 13 was?
Hathor.
Hathor? I don't think I know that one.
She is the great cow mother, right? She is the Milky Way.
Yeah.
She is, nourishing to us. And
I've
so
that one 3 times.
Oh, see, maybe connect with Hathor if that feels good to you. And it's that mother energy. It's that nourishing energy that allows us to hold space for our transformation through our stories.
Yeah. Okay. I will definitely look into that, because I love archetypes. That's one of the most beautiful parts about human design. And, you were saying in the beginning about the first person that you found that they didn't resonate with you because of the language. And it's really interesting to me how I resonate with different language in different moments and in different cycles. And I've talked to a lot of people now. You're episode 48, right? So many different perspectives. And it's funny as I've talked to people to notice how many of the people who started and first found traditional human design had to go and find another language that resonated more deeply in order to deepen their connection with it. But I've also found the opposite to be true, that people who entered first through quantum human design loved it, embraced it, and then really felt the deepening when they went and approached, whether it be traditional human design or gene keys or another language. And I think there's really something beautiful about the layering effect of these different things. But one of the side effects that I've found is there's so many different names for every gate. And so for a new person, it gets really confusing. I even noticed that when I'm writing a blog post, I will refer to one gate in its quantum human design name, and another one I'll call it what they call it in gene keys, and another one I'll call it what they call it in traditional human design, and then I'll have one that I just call what I like to call it, And I think that's really that's hard for people who are new coming in, because they get, especially if you have this need to understand, whether it be a first line or sometimes I feel like I don't know which it would be harder for, the defined ajna who has to have their set way of thinking, or the undefined ajna who's conditioned to think they need to have that certainty. But I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that whole idea and what to do with it. Because I realize it's very much mind stuff, but that's what gets in people's way, right? Is mind stuff.
In Christianity, there is 36,000 sects in Christianity. Mm-hmm. And yet at the end of the day, what really matters, right? What really matters. And so, I've been around the block. I studied traditional, I studied quantum, I studied gene keys, I've studied the I Ching. And at the end of the day, I took it all together, mashed it up, and created my own language.
Right.
If you want to be an analyst or a human design reader, fine, wonderful, learn your path, learn your way, learn what is quote unquote right. Mm-hmm. But to me, when I'm coaching, or we're not coaching, when I'm mentoring, when I'm just being, right, it really, what's going to hit home the most? What is going to resonate with you? What is going to pierce your heart? That is what matters then, more than the language, like the right words. But that's just me. We all have a different way. It's funny when I was thinking about Christianity, because I'm an ordained minister. And so when I was thinking about that, 36,000 sets of Christianity that's been around for 2,000 years. And when Karen Curry Parker moved from traditional human design to quantum, it reminded me of, Lutheran moving away from Roman Catholic. And we're going to continue seeing more and more and more people like cosmic human design. And there's going to be more and more alliterations of human design. And so many people will say, oh, it's taken away from the purity of what human design is. But to me, there's an evolution. And there needs to be an evolution, because we are not all going to resonate the same way. And so, you know what I mean? And so what resonates with you? So you're going to have to find if you want your human design read, find somebody that resonates, that you resonate with, the language that they use, right? Versus the analytical of human design, because that's just going to take you further into your mind and confuse you. And clarity, we think of clarity as being from the mind, but clarity truly is from the body. Like when your body knows to move, that is clarity. That is clarity to me.
I'm going to have to look at our connection, because I'm getting so many ideas and thoughts as you and I are talking. And I'm not sure, because we don't connect the head ajna or the throat ajna. Maybe it's in the transits and I'm not catching it, or maybe it's just frequency. But as you were saying, evolutionary, or the evolution, I was actually sitting here and thinking, oh, well, like the first person to kind of branch off was Chetan Parkin. And when I spoke with him, he said Ra told him, if you don't like the language, write your own lines, write it in language that, and so he did that. And then eventually, though, he had to part ways with Ra because because of that whole idea that he believed that, I hate when I try to paraphrase for a former guest because I always risk I'm putting too much of my own spin on it. But I believe what he said was that it's not static. The reason they use the term evolutionary human design is it's continually evolving as the world evolves and as we grow. And so the idea that is now becoming so prevalent in the, I don't know, fundamentalists, I guess I feel like I want to say, right, is Ra didn't say that, so the voice didn't tell him that. Ra didn't say it, so we don't believe that, right? And that's fine if that's where you are. Even if you want to stay there forever, that's fine. But I'm not gonna let you tell me what's true for me, right? And
I'm a channel, and so as a channel, we channel things through our own perceptions, through our own lenses, right? And this is why I study so much. I study so much so that I have language, right? Because otherwise I would be channeling light language. I'd be all, I have the gate 31 twice. It's my conscious Earth and it's my Mars. And the gate 31 is the democratic leadership through language. It's once again, it's this beautiful romance. I romance you through words. And so for me as a channel, we this is why, Ra taught, or Ra took in the information the way that he did, is because he had the language, he had the perception of that way. But the thing is it doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean it's the only way. And the beautiful thing about somebody who channels, I channel myself, is if somebody interprets what I channel in a different way, that's right. That's perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly how I see it, because that's just the way that I was able to interpretate it. But if you're able to feel the resonance, if you're able to feel the download, the echo of it in your own way, then that's the way that you were meant to take it in and amplify it and share it, right? So we all have a unique way of sharing it. It's just that the more language that we have, the more clarity that we have with the understanding sometimes.
Yeah, and
it's the art of articulation.
You've got that Jupiter in gate 12, line 5. So, they say that's the gate of the channel as well. And in the 5th line, so yeah, I'm trying to stay in my thoughts here with where I was at, and I've already lost 3 questions. I never write stuff down because I always trust that what's going to happen in the moment, but I feel like I've lost a couple. Oh, I know. It was just this whole idea that I've really embraced this year of, it went from at the beginning of the year, me choosing my word as trust, right? And now I've kind of added to that and really kind of embrace this hashtag I use a lot this year, which is radical self-trust. And that's actually what I'm talking about at the Human Design Conference this year, is navigating uncertainty through radical self-trust. And part of that is, I think, what you're talking about with this knowing when something's true for you. And that has been an interesting thing I've watched as I've gone around that circle and come back again, is to know, there's some saying about to go all the way, go on your journey and come back home and know yourself for the first time or something. I'm paraphrasing something I heard somewhere. But this idea that I can really respect the wisdom of someone, but not make them my guru, not make them my truth teller, not make them be the one who knows what's right for me, and really trust that I'll know what I need to know when I need to know it. And I think that feels like it's in resonance with what you're saying. I don't know.
It is, right? We take in, okay. Gate 24 is my unconscious Earth. So for those that don't know what that means, that's kind of my life purpose. And so it is the gate of rationalizations, but it's also the gate of realizations. And we need to go through that spiral multiple times until we find our way through. And what's so beautiful about that is there's magic in the moment that you, like you said before, like you may pass by something so many times, but it's not until that timing is correct that you finally get the essence of it, right? That you finally see the breakthrough of it, that you finally understand the meaning of it. And so you can hear something like, we may hear something about a certain gate or a certain transit or a certain planet so many times, but somebody may say it in a different way or the exact same way at a different time, and it's going to hit at a different way. And so to me, it's trusting in your own authority. Right? I trust in my authority. I have confidence. I wear my courage as a crown. I trust in my authority because I feel that what I say is the truth, even if it's not the truth forever. It's the truth in the moment. And so it really is, whoever is listening to this at this certain moment may get a certain resonance than somebody else, and that is perfectly fine. And so, it's just so beautiful that we may come around again and again and again, and then finally one day it clicks.
Yeah. And that's happened to me so many times with so many things where I'll just be looking at things and I'll be like, this. Why have you never really understood it in this way? But it's beautiful when you really do. Like even right now, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, why do I feel so scattered? Right? I'm feeling a little, for those out there, I'm visiting my daughter down in Florida and I am doing this podcast with my laptop on top of an old apartment washer that she didn't want to sell in case her next place doesn't have a washer, that's in this spare room. And I'm in this room so that we don't have cats jumping on us, right? And it's a very chaotic setting. Normally, I'm in my office at home with my crystals behind me and my beautiful artwork that I've purposely chosen. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at like this, like the whole idea of, the corners where the energy collects when there's clutter and, not trashing my daughter or anything. And this is mostly my mess because I'm staying in this room and I have nowhere to put stuff, right? So, but realizing that, I'm sitting here and I'm asking and I'm saying to you, wow, I wonder what's in our chart. And this isn't a human design thing. This is just like life, the chaotic, non-beautiful environment around me is impacting how my brain works. And it's a really beautiful thing as I experiment and really start to be this witnessing observer of what's happening in my things, is to realize I'm making up a story still, even with all this experience, to try to explain why my body's feeling the way it is. And my body's feeling the way it is because I probably need to figure out a way to better organize stuff while I'm staying in here, right?
Or it could be because the moon is in Cancer, and Cancer is all about the home. It's all, it's all about the home. And maybe you don't feel, you feel scattered because you're not in your home, right? You're not in your, where it feels safe, where it feels comfortable. And that's okay.
Maybe I'm feeling scattered because the conflict between my home is in Georgia, but my heart lives in Florida, not just because of my daughter, but I absolutely, I came to the beach the other day and I hadn't been to the ocean for various reasons for way longer than normal. And it had been I don't even know if I made it in here when I came in November. I might not have no, I did stay at the ocean. And so it'd been over 6 months and that has not happened for years. And literally when I got out of the car and I could feel, because my daughter doesn't live at the ocean, she's about 20 minutes away. I got out of the car and I could feel the ocean. And all of a sudden my body was just like, you're home. This is it. And I'm walking out there and I'm just filling up with so much joy and so much happiness. When I put my chair down, put my stuff down, and I started to walk into the ocean, I literally teared up. And I was like thanking the ocean and just like feeling the release of any chaos or whatever. And so there's this whole inner conflict that happens with me in the whole, I love my husband, I love my house. He's in Georgia right now because he's working. And that's a whole nother thing. But so all these different things in life that our body feels in these different ways, our body, and then our mind tries to make stories to try to help us understand where we need to move, like, and get our attention. And so,
It's a reticulation activation center, right? The back of our head that we see so much, but it only filters what we, need to know. And so I love that that we have that, right? Because it filters out all the unnecessary stuff that we don't need. But the more that, and this is why resonance is so important to me, right? Opening your heart, opening up your heart, because then you get to see things in a different way. And your reticulation activation center in the back of your head is going to start, picking up on those things that resonate with your heart, right? Like, I want a new car, I want a red car. And all of a sudden, all these red cars are going to, start showing up for you, right? Because your intention, right? And so, yeah, I love the way that our bodies and our minds filter, and how we can learn to connect that resonance of our heart and our minds so that we are seeing what it is that, we truly desire to see, instead of what we think we want to see.
Yeah. And that energy right now with the transits, with the Earth in gate 26, which you and I both have. I know you have one channel, and it's the 2644. I have that channel as well. But I also have the 1/8 and the 3955. So I don't know. I would assume, it's a bigger part of who you know yourself to be, even though it's super important to mind. But I've been really contemplating the transits recently. And when I say really contemplate, I mean, I'm just looking at them in the morning the way I would look at the weather, and then quickly saying, okay, how's this going to impact how it's making me feel? And so really knowing how that gate 26 energy is really grounding us in this heart energy of what's in integrity for us. What do we really want? What is good for us as a part of this tribe? What's true for us? What do we recognize from the patterns we've seen in the past as how we are really going to speak through, find the heart of ourselves in the whole matter. And so that's just been really on my mind. But you and I also share the hanging gate 64 on an undefined head. And I have that twice in my chart as both my Pluto gates. And one time Karen Curry Parker said that I was like a cosmic ladle because of my questions. So I just ask these questions, and what I give people questions to ponder. But what I've really leaned into is the idea of this with the transits, or with anything, is what's the question, not what's the answer. So when I say I'm contemplating it, it's more like formulating the question and then waiting for those answers to show up, right?
You're being a Wonder Woman.
A Wonder Woman? Yeah, I wonder. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I like that. I feel like I can't steal Wonder Woman though, because Jacqueline Kent has the Wonder Woman thing, and that she's a friend of mine. He also does quantum human design. Jacqueline. But that's her. That's her thing. I'm just teasing. It was just a little shout out to Jacqueline. But yeah, so I'm Chatty Cathy. That's all I am. That's my superpower, my superhero, right? That's my thing that I've reclaimed. The idea that there is something that we always felt that we needed to be fixed, that was annoying, that was our shame. That was my chattiness, my chatty nature. And now I've reclaimed that as my superpower. And my questioning, always wanting to know these questions, right? Really seeing it as I don't need to know the answers. I just need to have the questions. That's my reframe. So what's your superpower that you've reclaimed?
I don't know. That's not for me. Okay, my superpower is this. I see beauty in everything. I see beauty in what other people think is the ugliest things. I work in mental health and addictions. The unlovable, the despicable, right? The pedophiles, the murderers, the bipolar, the schizophrenics. And I can find beauty there. There's so much beauty there. And so if anything, it's my superpower would be that I find beauty in everything. And that's why my business is called SoulPrism, because we are a prism of love and light We serve on a prism. We are a prism. And I'm taking a photography course right now because I'm just connecting to beauty in a different way. And even, he was talking about fractals this morning, fractals of lights. And when I went outside to look at the flowers and I was seeing the shade and the different colors and the different patterns and stuff that I never even, when I looked at a flower, I didn't see the depth. I didn't see the shadows and all the different things, right? And so it opened my heart up. It opened my heart up the more than my eyes. And so in Chinese medicine, we talk, a lot about our liver is connected to our soul vision. And so when I was, looking at the flowers, my heart opened so wide to true beauty. And sometimes it can be the dandelion. Sometimes it could be the old person, in the street, or what we would call a bum or the panhandler. But there's so much beauty there if you can open up your heart and have that compassion for the pain, right? Because there's beauty in pain. Like a lot of people get off on pain. And so I think for me, it's just being able to find the beauty, find the possibilities, find where people are limiting themselves or the limitations, or where people are playing small or only seeing things in a certain way, and being able to open myself up and other people to a new perspective.
Yeah. And being able to just see the full spectrum of light in the person, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. So how are you working with clients right now? How, if people want, I feel like this is a big shift or whatever, but we are getting to where, we're running up, we're running over actually. So if people want to work with you, what would be the best way? I feel like we were just really getting into some good stuff, but I'm going to have to,
if people want to get a hold of me, message me on Instagram or Facebook. I will share a link page below so you can find links. I do soul sessions, one soul sessions, but that's more of a taster, right? Because I'm not going to analyze your chart anymore. I'm not going to tell you what the root means and whatnot. I love working in mentorship, like deep, devotional, committed mentorship. And so I do have spots in my Dive In Diva mentorship program. It's a 3-month mentorship program where I hold space for kings. I hold space for artists. I hold space for women that want to create their own way and create a business. And I love branding. I love, finding the truest essence in your chart and lighting that up. So I do have my Dive In Diva mentorship. I also have a SoulPrism community membership. It's $97 a month. Everything's in there. Like, I just poured my heart and soul. Everything's in there. Gene keys, astrology, human design, human behavior, $97 a month. And I love supporting women in there as well. And I'm also holding, Kathy, you're the first person to know this. So SoulPrism Collective is having their 3rd year birthday on July 24th. And I am holding my first summit, and it's the Take Up Space Summit for women that are tired of settling and ready to create new standards in their lives. And so I'm really, really excited to be sharing my first SoulPrism Summit and bundle package later in July.
That's really exciting. Okay. So I really, I know you're going to share all those links for everybody. And that sounds just like a lot of good stuff. So every week we share stories of how my guests have come to understand themselves in a more loving and empowering way through the lens of human design. How you think and speak about yourself matters. Human design can show you the reframe of not only your own story, but the story you tell yourself about your relationships. If you're ready to start living a better story, I'd love to help guide you through the process of fully embodying who you came here to be. I also invite you to check out my website at kathybashanko.com, where you can run your free human design chart and find all the ways to connect with me directly. And please don't forget to follow Real Human Design Stories on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform, where you'll find this episode again the next day. So please take a moment and leave me a 5-star review. It really helps a lot. So thank you so much, Tammy. I feel like we kind of cut this off at a point where it was getting nice and juicy, and I'd love to continue that conversation maybe a little bit with you in the future. So, but it was really great chatting with you.
Thank you, Kathy. It was a wonderful way to spend a Sunday morning.
Yeah. So peace out, everybody.